Good evening, students. Now we'll start the class. Yesterday or in the previous class, we discussed the virtual work principle, some examples, and saw how we can able to obtain the equation of motion or 2 degree of freedom system in dynamic case. At present, we are not solving the differential equation. We are learning how to obtain the equation of motion for complex system. And once we'll cover all the principles, Hamilton principle and Lagrange's equation, then we'll go for solution of these. So yesterday I derived the Hamilton principle also using the virtual work principle and the D'Alembert's principle. So today I will take up example. So here in this method, Hamilton principle, once we have the energy, potential energy and the kinetic energy for the virtual work, then other for finding the equation of motion. This is used for finding the equation of motion. So equation of motion can be obtained by systematically by dealing with this scalar quantity. And so today I will show the steps involved in this Hamilton principle, how we can get from energy, kinetic energy, potential energy, equation of motion. So mathematical steps are very important. So I hope you will observe the steps very carefully so that this will help you in solving the assignment problem without any error in that. So main thing in this particular example which I will be showing, it becomes very complex at times, but if you are following a systematic procedure, then you will not make any error anywhere. So I'll show the slide now. So the first example I'll be taking, which is a continuous system. There is a axial rod. So you can see there is a beam or axial rod which is fixed at one end. This is a cantilever kind of thing. Only thing is the loading is there in the axial direction. So this particular beam vibration we want to analyze in the its axial direction. We'll in subsequent chapters we'll see that even the bending of beam vibration we'll analyze, but that will be quite complex. But to understand the Hamilton principle, this is the simplest example for continuous system in which we'll derive the equation of motion. As I mentioned previously, for continuous system, the equation of motion becomes partial differential equation. So we'll see how we can get from the Hamilton principle. Here we'll see that not only the equation of motion we will get from the Hamilton principle, but also the boundary condition also comes out from the this Hamilton formulation. So there is no need to think about the boundary conditions separately. It comes out from formulation. Especially it is helpful when we are dealing with more complex systems, bending beam case. So this is for axial rod case. So as in the previous classes, we have derived the strain energy stored in a small element which is there at a distance x. So that expression we'll be using here. So we derive this equation for the potential energy or the strain energy for this kind of system in which the cross section is varying. So that's why we have kept the A as function of x, because as we move around the axial rod, the cross section is changing, is tapered in shape. So A is function of x, and this is the strain. So this particular expression, strain energy, we derived already. So we'll be using this as it is. Here I'm introducing a new energy, that is a kinetic energy, which can be seen that is nothing but the half mass of the element into its velocity. So u is the axial displacement. Here u is the axial displacement, which is function of both x and time. So you can expect that the velocity or the displacement of the point along the length will be different. So that it is indicating that u is function of x and t. So this is the velocity term, square of that. So you can see that this particular quantity, when we integrate of mx is the mass per minute length. When we integrate this from 0 to L multiplied by the dx, then we'll get the total kinetic energy of this particular beam, of this particular rod. So we have potential energy or the strain energy and the kinetic energy. So at present, we are not applying the external force, just we are disturbing the system, and we want to find out how the system will vibrate because of some initial disturbance. So Hamilton principle we want to apply. So this is the Hamilton principle, in which we know that T1 to T2, the capital T minus V dt, that is the kinetic energy minus potential energy. So when we integrate this quantity, this T minus V is also Lagrangian. So if we integrate from T1 to T2, and this integral variation when we are taking, that should be equal to 0. So here the steps I will be showing. So kinetic energy I am putting, variational operator is outside the integral at present. So this is the kinetic energy term from the previous slide. Similarly, minus the potential energy term. So this is simple. I will just substitute the kinetic energy and the potential energy in the Hamilton principle as it is. Now, what I want actually here, we have the u is having differentiation of time, and here u is having differentiation of x. So actually, because only u is the generalized coordinate here, its derivative with respect to time or with respect to a spatial coordinate x, we need to eliminate from this equation. So first, what I am doing it, I am taking the variation inside the integral. As I mentioned, the variation is simpler. The operation of the variation is similar to the differential operator. So if I bring this variation inside the integral, you can see that this quantity will be differentiated, or variation will be taken, so that will be 2 into del v by dt. So this the 2 will go with cancel with the half. So del v by dt and the variation of this quantity. Okay, so this is 2 del v by dt. 2 will cancel with half, and then variation of this. So this is similar to the differential operator. Similarly, if we see here also square is there. So if we take the variation of this, then that will be 2, which will cancel half, del u by del x, and then variation of this quantity itself. So this is the variational operator, similar to the differential operator, but as we know that this differential operator is entirely different and variational operator is different, because variational operator variation is not defined for the time. Okay, so but at present they are similar in operation. Now you can see that this quantity, the variation of the del u by del t is there. So as I mentioned, we want the variation of u only in the expression. So this operator can be interchanged. So differential operator and the variational operator can be interchanged. So we'll be interchanging that. Similarly, so basically in this in the next step, what I have done, I have opened the bracket, outside bracket, so that I can bring this time here. And another operation I have done here, in the first term, I have interchanged the integration order. So it was T and L, now it has been changed to first differentiation with respect to X, and then inside T. So in this step, I'll just change the integration order. So here, I'm not changing the integration order. Why? Because if you see here, the differentiation is there with respect to time. So I want to do this particular expression, integration by part with respect to time, so that this differentiation with respect to t get eliminated. Here, the differentiation is with respect to x, and integration is also there. So when we do integration by part, so there will not be any difficulty. So that is why we have interchanged the integration operator in the first, not in the second. Now I have defined within the box the integration as I1, and here within the integration which is I2. So I1 is basically integration with respect to time, and I2 is with respect to x. I will be integrating them separately because otherwise it will be too complex to show on a PPT. And then I will substitute back the I1 and I2 in this expression. So here already mentioned that the delta variational operator and differential operator we can able to interchange, and even delta and delta by delta x we can able to change. Okay, so even the integration that we know, that integration operations we can able to interchange without any difficulty. So now I'll take this integral separately. So I1 I will take first. So that is time derivative and this term. Now as I was mentioning, I want here the variation of the del u only. So what I'm doing now, I'm interchanging the operation of the differentiation and the variation here. So you can see that now I've taken the time derivative partial outside and variation of the u inside. So only this change is taking place here. I'm changing the order of variation and the differentiation in this term, second term. Now I'm doing integration by part of this. First part is this one, and second part is this. So integration by part says that first term as it is, then the integration of the second term. So derivative time will go, and the limit t1 to t2 minus integration t1 to t2, differentiation of the first term. So differentiation of the first term and the integration of the second term. So this is the simple integration by part of this, with first term is this, second term is this. So the aim, as I mentioned, was to eliminate the differentiation of the u. Only we want the variation of the u. So you can see in the this and this, now differentiation of the u is not there. Only the variation is left out by doing the integration by part. But now the first term, if you see, if you take the limit at t2 and t1, so variation is not defined with respect to time. So this term within the box will be 0. So the variation, as we have defined in Hamilton principle, at beginning of the time and the end of the time, the variation of the generalized coordinates are 0. Then whatever the true path and the varied path coincide at t1 and t2. So this delta u is 0. So this term will go. So we'll be left with only this term from the I1 integration. Now I'll take the I2 integration that was with respect to x. So again, here also the aim is to remove the differentiation of the u, because here the generalized coordinate is only u. So we want the variation of u only in the integrals. So here I change the order of differentiation and variation similar to the upper step. So this step is same. Then I am doing the integration by part. Here integration by part is with respect to x. So this is the first term as it is. Integration of the second term, del u, limit is 0 to L because the length of the rod is L, so 0 to L, minus integration or differentiation with respect to x of the first term. So this is the differentiation of the first term, and then integration of the second term, del u del x. So this is the integration by part of this. Here del u may not be 0 at x is equal to 0 or x is equal to L, as it was there for the time case here. So this will not vanish. We'll retain this particular term for the second integration. Now we have expanded the I1 and I2, and we have got this term and this term. We'll substitute back here this terms, and even we'll again bring back the order of the integration. Even we'll keep outside and L inside. That also we'll be doing. So in this step, I've done that. And here, if you see, I've substituted back I1 and I2 in the previous expression. And I have three terms. One term is this, which involves time derivative. And here we have outside L derivative. Similarly, here we have this term, which is outside the integral of the x. So we have three terms. So we'll collect all the terms having double integral, because this will be having double integral because one is outside. This will be having double integral because one is outside. This is having only single integral, which is outside. So you can see here, this two terms having double integral is this, and the other third term, which is having single integral, which is here. So I have just substituted those two terms, and I have collected the terms having double integral in one place and single integral in another place. Even the del u is common, so those terms also have taken out from this. So this was the aim for doing the partial differentiation, that we had the derivative with respect to x and t of u, which was here and here. So by integration by part, we eliminated that, so that we can able to take the common this variation del u outside this. Here is the third term, which did not vanish during the integration by part. Okay. Now here, this variation of the generalized coordinate is arbitrary. We can give any value. So to satisfy this equation, the term within this square bracket should be 0 independently. Also, this whole term should be equal to 0 independently. Then only we can have the satisfaction of this term, this equation. So if I equate this equal to 0, so this is the first one, then I'll equate the whole thing equal to 0. Here, del u may not be 0, that's why we are equating this. Here, del u may be 0 or may not be 0. It will depend upon the boundary condition. So we are retaining del u here. But in the first equation, we are not retaining, because here there is no limit. This variation is within the beam element. So within the beam element, this variation may not be zero. So we equated this and we have not retained this del u in the first equation. But second equation, at boundary like fixed end, del u is what? Displacement. At fixed end, displacement is zero, so variation will not be zero. But other end which is free, so there displacement is not zero, so variation also will not be zero. So we need to see the variation should satisfy the boundary condition. So that's why we are retaining this along with the this term. So if you see, the first equation is a partial differential equation. Order of the differentiation is second, and u is function of x and t. So this equation is partial differential equation, and this is the equation of motion of the axial rod vibration. And this is the boundary condition which is coming automatically from the Lagrange formulation. The solution of this is a partial differential equation. Solution of this we'll see subsequently, but if you see carefully, this kind of equation you already solved in mathematics. Basically, the form of the equation is similar to the wave equation, and wave equation you already solved in mathematics. So, but we'll solve this again when we, with the perspective of the vibration, we'll solve this again when we deal with the continuous system. Okay, so at present our aim is to get the equation of motion and boundary condition for continuous system or a discrete system using these principles. Okay. So and another thing is this particular term. If you see, this particular term is what? This is nothing but the axial force term. Okay, because you know the axial force, the axial displacement is given by force into length by EA. So that is the same expression. So you can expect that in the axial vibration case, either the axial force will be zero or the displacement will be zero. I can show you the cantilever. So here, when displacement is zero, we can expect there will be reaction force here. Here, when the displacement is taking place, the force will be zero. So that is the bond. So this is one boundary, and this is another boundary. So where one of the term will be zero, here either displacement will be zero, so force will not be zero. Here displacement is not zero, so force will be zero. So that is given by this particular boundary conditions of the problem. Okay, so this is how to apply the Hamilton principle for the continuous system. I'll just take some questions if you have on this. Otherwise, I will go for the another example for the discrete system. If you have any problem in the steps, please you can ask question. Otherwise, I will go for another example of the discrete system using Hamilton principle. So here the steps are very important. What we are aiming, that is very important. Why we are doing the integration by part and in what form we want this particular. Okay, so I think there is no question. So we'll continue with another example. Yeah. So this is the same example which I think derive the equation of motion using the virtual work principle. So just to have familiarity, okay, how we obtain the equation of motion in previous case, what is the difference here, and what is the similarity we want to check. So I have taken the same example. So here, as I have horizontal motion, so that is defined by x displacement, and a particular bar is attached to this, which is swinging. So the position of that is defined by theta. So there are two generalized coordinates in this. So here first aim will be to obtain the potential energy of the system and the kinetic energy of the system. And then once we have those terms, then the Hamilton principle is systematically we can able to get the equation of motion. So let us see first the kinetic energy. So kinetic energy will be there in the car mass as well as in the swinging this bar. Car is having linear motion, so the kinetic energy will be simple, 1/2 m1 x dot square. So for car, kinetic energy is simple. For bar, because bar is swinging also, so it will be having two energy. One will be the translational energy, because it's not only swinging but is having motion in the x direction. So that's why the translation kinetic energy will be there. So 1/2 m2 velocity square. So here velocity of the center of gravity of the bar. So Vc is this. So center of gravity of bar C is here. So we want to find out what is the velocity of that when the car is moving and this is swinging. So that will give us the translation kinetic energy. Then due to the swing, so this will be additional kinetic energy. So IC is the polar moment of inertia about the center of gravity, and theta dot is the angular velocity square. So this is the rotational motion kinetic energy. So three kinetic energy terms will be there. One for the car, which is translational, for bar, which is swinging as well as moving in the horizontal direction. So it will be having two translational as well as rotational kinetic energy. Potential energy will be stored in the spring because the spring is getting extended by x. So 1/2 kx square will be the potential energy of the spring. This bar is having weight and is swinging, so potential energy of this also will be there. And the center of gravity is there at the half of the length of this. So m2g L by 2, 1 minus cos theta. So L, so you can see how much center of gravity is lifted. That is the potential energy of the system. So potential energy of the bar will be only due to the gravity. There is no spring attached here, but the first car is attached with the spring. So the displacement of corresponding to the car will give the potential energy. So we have the kinetic energy and the potential energy. It looks simple, but still we have not obtained the expression for the linear velocity of the center of gravity of the bar. So that we need to find out. Yeah. Apart from that, because at this free end, there is external force. So that force will give us the virtual work. So if you see, this is the bar, this swinging at O, center of gravity is C. So bar will be the axial motion, whatever the x direction displacement of the bar, this end will be L sine theta, because force is applied here. And additionally this bar is moving with x displacement along with the car. So the total displacement of the force will be x plus L sine theta and variation of that. So this is the variation, the virtual work due to the force and the corresponding displacement. So displacement, we need to consider both the absolute displacement of the free end of the bar. So one will be the x displacement due to the car, and then due to swing, this is L sine theta. So this is the total displacement variation of that. Now, as I mentioned, the position of the C, the velocity of the C is involved in the kinetic energy. So we want to find out that. So first, let us see what is the position of the C. So the axis system, as we have defined, x and y, ij. So here you can see the the center of gravity is having x displacement. The horizontal displacement is x plus half, because half L by 2 sine theta. So this much. This is L by 2 sine theta. So this is the total horizontal displacement of the center of gravity of the bar. This is in the positive x direction, so this is positive. Now the y component. What is the position of the center of gravity? So that is half cos theta. This much. So this is the position of the center of gravity. And because y is in the upward direction, so this is negative as we have chosen. So this is the position of the C in the chosen coordinate system. Velocity we can get by differentiating this by time. So if we differentiate this with time, we get Vc. So simple differentiation. This will be cos theta, theta dot. Then this will become minus sine theta, theta dot. So this is simple differentiation with respect to time of this. Then because the kinetic energy involved the velocity square, so this velocity square, because these are vector, so that will be nothing but the square of this and the square of this. Dot product of this will be square of these two quantity. So if we expand this, we'll get three terms from first, and then this term, the fourth one. Here some like these two last term can be combined, so that will give us L square by 4 theta dot square. This last two, first term and second term will give this after simplification. So this is the velocity square. This we can substitute in the kinetic energy here to get the total kinetic energy of the system. So total kinetic energy of the system will be, this was for car, this was translational of the bar, and this is rotational of the bar. So okay, and this if we rearrange there's some common term, we will get the expression like this. So x dot square term and theta dot terms are collected, and remaining is like this. So this particular term, if you see, is containing x dot, theta dot, cos theta. So basically, this will give some kind of nonlinear term in the equation of motion, because it's having multiple multiplication of various generalized coordinate. So finally, this term we need to draw. When we derive the virtual work principle, then this term was not appearing, as we'll see in the equation of motion, because in that particular case, when the pendulum was swinging, also is having the translational motion. So the corollarized component of acceleration we did not consider, which is too complex to incorporate. And finally, it gives the nonlinear terms, which anyway we need to drop it. So, but using this energy formulation, this automatically it comes. So we are retaining at present, but finally we'll be dropping this term. Now we have this is the kinetic energy, and the potential energy we already obtained. Now we'll apply the Hamilton principle. For that, we need the variation of the kinetic energy and the potential energy. So because the expressions are long, so we will be doing step by step. So here I have written for your reference final kinetic energy and final potential energy. I am taking the variation. So variation of L is nothing but variation of the kinetic energy minus variation of the potential energy. So if you see, when I'm taking the variation of this, so variation operator is similar to the differentiation. So the first term will give m1 plus m2 x dot delta x dot. So variation of this will be 2 x dot and delta x dot, and 2 and half will get cancelled. So we are left with this this. So this is the first term corresponding to this. The second term is more complex because it's having three generalized coordinate multiplied by each other. So when we take the variation of this, we will get three terms out of this. So this is the variation of this. So one by one we need to take variation. So first we can take variation of x dot, then theta dot, then cos theta. So you can see this is the variation of the x dot. So x dot, I'm keeping the extreme right. Then variation of the theta dot, and then when I'm doing variation of the cos, the minus sign will come, minus sine theta, delta theta. So this is the second term is corresponding to this. Then variation of this is simple, which will get this term. Then minus of the potential energy. So variation of this is simple, k x delta x. So kx delta x. And then the variation of this. So when we take the variation of this, the constant term will vanish. Constant term will not be there. That will vanish. Similar to the differentiation. If we differentiate the constant term, it becomes 0. So when we take the variation, this will be minus sine theta. So minus minus plus, and then here minus because that is del v, del t minus del v. Okay. This minus. So sine you need to take care when you take the variation, and so this is the variation of the Lagranges. Virtual work we already obtained. So this actually, if I take the variation inside, I can get this expression. Variation of x and variation of sine theta will be cos theta delta theta. So now we can substitute this in the Lagrange, the extended Hamilton principle. So this is the extended Hamilton principle in which this is L is Lagrangian, and this is the work done due to non-conservative force, external force. So now if we substitute this expression and this expression in this, we will get the expression like this. So you can see all the terms are there, including the this expression. So I just substituted the equation I and j in the k equation to get the L equation. So this equation now, if you see carefully, the first term, here one more thing I have done. I have collected the similar terms of the variation, like the first term contains the variation of the x dot. Second term contains the variation of the theta dot. So in this expression, if you see, x dot contain this blue colored terms, this. So these are the two terms which are corresponding to the x dot variation. So that is coming here. Similarly, theta dot variation is there in the red color. So let red color underline this term, this term. So these two terms will be coming here. Then the variation of the delta x is only this, and variation of the theta is other. Here also is there. But main thing is we want to eliminate the variation of the x dot to x, as we did for the continuous system case. So here also we need to do the integration by part. Similarly, in this expression, variation of the theta dot is there. So we need to do integration by part to eliminate the this time derivative. Here, because this is a discrete system, so we don't have the differentiation of the x and theta with respect to spatial coordinate x and theta as we had in the case of continuous system. So here only the differentiation with respect to time is there. So we'll be doing integration by part with respect to time only. So Yeah. So yeah. So I have taken one term. Let us say this term I want to show how the integration by part, and then the other can be done on the simple lines. So this is the first term in that. Okay. So I'm doing the integration by part of this. Okay. So I'll again show this. So I'm taking only the first term. If I show one, I think rest of the things are you can able to do yourself. So this is the first term, which is having integration with respect to time only. Because discrete system, we don't have the integration with respect to x. So integration by part. So this is the first part and this is the second part. So first part as it is, then the integration of the second part, limit t1 to t2 minus differentiation of the second term or first term. So when we differentiate this, this will become x double dot. And here we have two terms of theta and cos theta. So when we differentiate, first will be theta double dot cos theta minus theta dot sine theta and then theta dot. So that's why there is coming minus theta dot square. So this simple differentiation. So I think can able to do it. And here, so this is the first term I have shown how we can able to do it. Similarly, the second term, which contains the delta theta dot, can be integrated by part. So this is the first part, second part, limits, and then the differentiation of the first part and the variation of the theta will be outside. So on the same line, this second term will be integrated by part. Remaining terms are as it is. Remaining these terms are as it is because they contain only variation of the x, variation of the theta, not their derivatives. So only thing I have collected here the del x in one place, variation of the x, and variation of the theta in one place. Now, as we know, the variation of the x at t1 and t2 is not defined, that is 0. So the first term will go. Similarly, here, variation of the theta, which is also a generalized coordinate, is not defined. So this term also will be 0. So only the term within the integration will be remaining, they will vanish. So once they are vanishing, now you see this integration contains the variation of the x. Then this contains variation of the x, they can be combined. So the red underlined part can be combined and written in this form. Similarly, the green part, which contains the delta theta variation, that can be combined in one. So here the aim, as I mentioned, was to eliminate the derivative of the x, variation of the x and theta, so that we can collect all the similar terms of the variation of the x in one place and all the variation of the theta in one place. And because now delta x and delta are two generalized coordinates, they're independent coordinates, and variations are also arbitrary. So that means we can equate the terms, the coefficient of the delta x separately equal to 0. So whatever the term is there within the bracket, spiral bracket, can be equal to 0, this separately and this separately. So this two will give us the equation of motion. So now we are equating the coefficient of the variation of x and theta separately equal to 0. So to get the two equation of motion. So these equation of motion, if you see, they are nonlinear. They contain the multiplication of the or the square of the generalized coordinate. So and sine theta cos theta is there. So for a small angle of, we can able to approximate sine theta is equal to 0, sine theta is equal to theta, and cos theta is equal to 1. And nonlinear terms we can neglect, like this nonlinear term which contain x dot, theta dot. So this kind of terms we can ignore. So the first equation and second equation will give this equation. And this equation, if we combine, we'll get equation of motion in a matrix form like this. So now this equation, if you see, is exactly same as we obtained using the virtual work principle. So there's no difference in the linearized form. So when we linearize, we got this exactly same equation of motion as we had using the virtual work principle. So this is the illustration of the Hamilton principle for discrete system or continuous system. I explained in the previous example. So I will take up some questions if you have. In the steps, because steps are very important in this, because I have already given assignments. So unless you understand all the steps clearly, so here you can, one thing I would like to tell, because here we had two generalized coordinates. So that's why we had two variation, theta x and theta, the variation of x and variation of theta. And independently, when we equated, we got two equation of motion. Because once we have two generalized coordinate, we will get two equation of motion. So Akshat?
Yes.
Akshat, you have some question?
Yes, sir. I'm audible.
Ah.
Sir, while deriving that kinetic energy of the example 5, sir, I think there was M1 in place of M2. Can you open that slide?
Okay. Some typo.
And
Where?
also while integration by parts.
Here is M2. Which slide?
Sir, while deriving that kinetic energy of discrete system, example 5.
So this is the one.
Yes, sir.
So where is you're talking about?
Sir, last term in T, equation G. A previous slide. In equation G, last term 1 by 3, M2 it should be, or M1?
That is M2. Because that is, if you see, 1 by 3 L square is the polar moment of inertia of the pendulum at the pivot point.
Yes.
So this is M2. For the this is the rotational energy, no? Okay. Rotational kinetic energy. So this must be for the. So this should be M2. Sorry, this should be M2.
Yes.
Yeah. This for putting the pendulum. So this is a type.
And also, sir, for that integration by parts, it is
some okay. So this type error. So these are all, but final expressions are okay. I think.
Yes.
I hope other things are okay. Only I think in this it was
yes,
there. Yeah. Thank you for participating. Any other question? One more student was raising the hand.
Sir.
Mano.
Good evening, sir. Am I audible?
Yes.
Sir, after we derive the system of equations for any multi-degree freedom of system, how do we cross-check that the equations we are getting are correct? Or like after applying the Hamilton's principle and we derive our final equation, how do we know that or cross-check that we have taken the correct considerations and we have derived the correct equation for the particular motion that is happening?
That is best way is you derive by two different method and check. If you are getting the same, then there is one way.
Okay, sir. Like while considering itself, like there are many terms in the equation, right? Like how do we know that we have considered everything, like the moment of inertia of the rod, etc., etc.
So that is the main thing, especially when you're dealing with the this energy. No, then it is simple. It's simple in the sense that when a body is there in the system which is having linear motion, so only the translational kinetic energy to be considered. Yes, when it is having rotational, then we need to take the rotational one. But if it is rotational plus translational, then so accordingly you need to No, this is simple observations. Okay, so like in the force case, it was more difficult, but here you know, okay, I need to consider rotational kinetic energy, because if there is a compound pendulum, okay, the support is not moving, then you know that only the rotational kinetic energy is required. But if that pendulum is moving, then you need to consider the the translational and the kinetic energy both. Okay, so and as I derived here, I took the center of gravity as a for deriving the kinetic energy for linear and then the angular. Okay.
Okay.
So that is the key. So always you try to take the center of gravity of that particular object and derive the kinetic energy. Then the rest of the confusion will not be there.
Okay.
But finally,
So
if
the
you see,
two
finally,
methods
if you
are principle of virtual work and Hamilton's, right?
yeah.
From the two methods, we can cross check that the equations we are getting are similar or not.
Yeah. I gave assignment, 3 assignment problem I have given to each students.
Yes, sir.
So I told you to derive equation of motion. Is up to you which method you want to apply which particular problem. But 3 methods I will be explaining, and you need to derive the equation of motion by one method. But for your own curiosity, you can go ahead and you can derive by another method. So I'm not insisting, but for your own curiosity, you can, like if you have energy, you can always apply Lagrange equation. That is very simple. And cross check. Okay.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Jeevan?
Yes, sir. So while applying boundary conditions for the thin rod under tension, it is given that at the fixed end the display del u is 0, and at the free end it is non-zero. Once you go to the slide, sir, I didn't understand that boundary condition.
Yeah. Actually, I will explain. Here, you need to understand what is U. U is the axial displacement of the beam of this particular rod. So this is the fixed end.
Yes, sir.
So once it is fixed end, what will be the U here?
0.
0. So variation of U will also must be 0, because the variation is need to satisfy the boundary condition. So variation when we are giving, it must satisfy the boundary condition. No? So if U itself is 0, variation of 0 will be 0. Okay.
At x equal to L, how delta u is 0?
Yeah. At x is equal to L, delta U will not be 0, but axial force will be 0, because there is a free end. So boundary condition also. So here either this quantity will be 0 or this will be 0, one of them. So when I'm saying x is equal to 0, del U is 0, the force, the reaction force will not be 0 at fixed end. Okay. At free end, because U is not 0, so this will be 0.
Okay.
Okay, because this free end is free to expand, so there will not be any axial force there. Okay. So one of them will be 0. That's why it has been retained here.
Sir, if there is a displacement, then how can we assume that force is 0?
When there is a displacement, for this particular case, axial rod case, okay, we are talking about the boundary conditions. So boundary condition means either the fixed end or the free end.
Okay.
Only 2 places we are talking about. Okay. And this is the free vibration. So this is the free vibration. Okay.
Okay.
So we are giving some initial disturbance and letting it to vibrate in the axial direction. Okay. So the axial force will be throughout the beam, toward the rod, except at the free end, because this is free. Okay, if we take the free body diagram of the tip, there is no force in the left side. There is no force in the right side, so there will not be any force in the left side. I think you're doing the solid mechanics course, and that I think the Saint-Venant's principle. I think if you refer with that, you can Saint-Venant's principle. Using that, you can able to say.
Okay.
Okay, this will be more clear when we go for the beam case, in which that things are more complex, because there not only the displacement, slope is also involved. So once slope is there, then we have shear force, bending moment. So 4 quantities are there. Things will be more clear there.
Okay.
So at present, the purpose of this example is to illustrate the Hamilton principle, how this can be applied to get the equation of motion. Okay, so again we'll come back to this differential equation and solve them, and physically we'll interpret them. Any other question? Manpreet?
Hello. Yes, sir. Actually, I have a doubt regarding first assignment submission. So, sir, we have been done with the analytical license issue. We are not able to pull out.
Your voice is breaking. Your voice is breaking.
Hello.
Your voice is not clear.
Hello.
There's a lot of noise.
I wish.
Okay, maybe you can email my query in case, because I'm not.
Sir, actually, we are not able to access MATLAB sir online. So how we will plot our?
I gave Scilab also.
Scilab.
Yes, Scilab also. That is open source.
But
yes.
Okay, sir.
And
then one more thing. Sir, you are using white background of slide and your cursor is also white, sir. So it is little bit difficult to track because due to poor internet, some time is lag, sir. So
okay, I will check. I was thinking about some kind of highlighter. I will check
yes,
with my
it is
check
little
with.
bit.
Yeah, I will do it. But I think in the video, I think it will be okay. But in maybe I think online there will be problem.
Yes, sir. Online sometimes videos lag, so it is difficult to track.
Yeah. So I'll try to highlight. I use highlighters maybe. I'll find out. I was thinking about.
Yes.
Sir, sorry to interrupt. Like you also press the hide button there, sir. We are not able to see the last line of the equations.
Last.
The hide button. Stop sharing. Hide.
Which one?
There on your screen.
Now you're not able to see.
In this mode, we are able to, sir. When you go on full screen, the last line is somewhat cropped.
We actually.
The hide button.
So that can be hide. Okay. So this, yeah.
I got small.
Yeah, it's fine.
Now it's fine, sir.
Next time I'll do it.
Yes, sir.
So whenever I was coming to that equation, I was doing this mode. So now this. Thank you for this feedback. Hello. Anyone? Who is this? Manpreet is over. Saurabh?
Yes, sir. Good evening, sir. Sir, many of us have submitted the first assignment already, but I think there is some problem in the teams because in the assignments and in the completed section, there is no any assignment is seen. So do we need to submit it once again or what?
Yeah, I will check it. Actually, I was today busy. So tomorrow morning I will check up with my student, and but I can see all your assignments, I think. But what the issue, I will just check, because I try to see some of the assignment. The files are there. So, but maybe I think you're not able to see, or something is happening. I will sort out that. Even I think some of the second assignment date due thing is also different. So I will sort out that. Because I'm doing one by one. So sometimes the previous date is getting into that deadline. So so that is, I will correct those things. I'll sort out.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. So also we have a quiz on 30. Okay, I'm announcing well ahead so that you can start preparing. So up to the chapter 2, the questions will be there, and this will be objective type. Okay, so you attempt your assignments also so that your concepts are clear. Okay, so I can even ask some intermediate steps also, so that you can you should know the method fully. It's not key only some question. You need to solve something and then answer. It will be something like that. It's not key just ticking, but that will be all the answers will be multiple choice type, right? Okay. So I think I should. If there's no question, I'll stop here.